So let's talk in a little more detail about the rapidly deteriorating economic situation in Eastern Europe, a story that is getting little coverage in this country. With us is Roben Farzad, a senior writer and columnist for BusinessWeek. Roben, good to see you again.
Thank you, Daljit.
So it seems that some of these Eastern European countries are on the verge of default. What does this mean for the people that live there?
Austerity ahead, tougher times from the paradigm that they've learned to love and enjoy and perhaps take for granted for the past 10 or 15 years. This is a phenomenon that these countries were kept down for so long during the Cold War, that there was so much pent-up potential and demand to invest in these countries after the fall of the Soviet Union and the fall of the wall. And so that money sluiced in, and you throw in the global hunt for yield and the emerging markets boom in the past 6 or 7 years, and that was only amplified. The question now is, are they good for the money? And the market seems to be saying no.
So does that mean that these banks, which are heavily invested, especially from old Europe, from Western Europe, are calling in the loans?
There is a standoff that will ensue because the banks, obviously, with this broader credit crisis, which has so far been largely a developed market, Western Europe, United States phenomenon, they would like to call in these loans. They would like to clean up their balance sheets, but it's one of those things where you don't want to spite your counterparties. You don't want to spite these other people who could prosper if the economy comes back again. And, you know, these are mitigating circumstances that could themselves cause a contagion. You call back these loans, the governments aren't good for that money. They devalue the loans. You then take up a hit, and it becomes this vicious kind of feedback cycle. So right now, they're all on both sides taking their time, making overtures to the IMF and European governments for money and hoping for the best.
And what are the much broader implications for Western Europe, old Europe?
Well, Western Europe and the rest of the developed world is very scared about the potential, especially for Austria and Sweden, which have been exposed to Eastern European economies. There's a certain cultural affinity, for example, between Sweden and Estonia or Austria.
90% of the loans are given by Swedish banks to Latvia.
Yes. And people were happy to take that money. There is a systemic concern that if that then recourse is back to the rest of the world, the United States certainly doesn't have a vested interest in seeing developed banks from the likes of Austria and Sweden going under.
Talking about the United States, well, what does it mean for us?
We're all in this together. This is no longer a decoupled U.S. versus emerging versus frontier market situation. This is truly the worst global economic financial crisis in at least 80 years. And we're seeing all these little pockets blow up almost on a weekly basis. This is another one of them. And unfortunately, it gets short shrift in the United States because people are watching the Dow falling into 6,000 territory and other matters. So it's another thing, sadly, to put into the queue to get in line for attention.
So falling exports, is that exactly where it's going to hit us?
Falling exports, I mean, these were growth economies. You would like Poland and Hungary and the Czech Republic to be, on balance, healthy buyers of U.S. products, but that remains to be seen.
All right, Roben Farzad, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.